Welcome to Jacket Jockeys with Justin.
And me, Jennifer.
I don't know why you never.
I'm trying to do what you ask of me.
Why don't you just say?
I said that's my name. Hi, everybody.
Why don't you just say Gen like a normal
Gen,
person?
it's me, Gen.
Gen and Gustin.
The
Hello.
person, the blonde wigged, tape dropping, bathroom lurker,
Freezer locking.
break cutter.
And also possibly zombie.
And
Um,
maybe secret love child of Hannah and the IT guy from The Office. What a twist.
what a twist indeed. Well, we're back again, here to talk about Showtime's Yellowjackets. And in this podcast, we will discuss season 3, episode 7, Croak,
Yeah.
which I did not realize.
Troll.
I did not realize was a troll. I saw the title and I was like, "That's weird. I wonder what that's about." And as soon as the
It
episode
didn't
started,
take long to find out.
yeah, it basically starts with that, and it's like, yeah, that's crazy sound you've been hearing this whole time.
That terrifying, like massively large sound came from some tiny, very horny frogs.
Oh, but it made this like bulbous like mouth
vocal
thing.
sac.
Vocal sac. There you go.
Yeah, little frogs. Yeah, so it wasn't so we were right that it was an animal
Yeah, we
making a
did say that,
noise.
right? Because that did seem like the most like Yellow Jackets
But it
explanation.
does feel like the writers sat around thinking, what's the smallest, cutest creature and the least menacing context that
Yes.
this sound could be made in? Because I think you had in mind maybe a predatory sound from an owl or something.
Yes.
I was thinking maybe the sound of animals being killed.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, they're just engaging in a rare mating ritual.
Yes, which I will have to talk about as we get to it. Because
Well,
I
you
think
are a herpetologist, right?
Is that what they call them?
I think that's for reptiles. I
Oh,
don't
too bad.
know the word for snakes, maybe specifically a frogologist.
Frogologist, yeah, sure.
Sorry, it's frigologist.
Frogologist, sorry.
It's like a kilometer thing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not one to say like total vindication, but like
You are one to say.
I really feel like this is, what I've been trying to say, this whole time on the podcast. Well, I shouldn't say this whole time, but
Wow.
like I would say like since probably since the end of season 2, when Lottie says like, is there a difference? Like to me, like that was a definitive sign about the direction that the show was going. And I was like, okay, like and I've been saying it all this season at least, like if we're gonna get explanations for things, don't expect them to be outlandish. Don't expect them to be supernatural.
I do think frog mating is an outlandish explanation.
Well, okay, but what I mean is like in the sense of like some like shocking plot development. It's more of in that case a troll, like how ridiculous it is. That it's just this thing that really has nothing to do with anything in terms of the plot. It's just like this weird natural phenomenon that happens to occur here. It's just kind of a coincidence, that they're there during this particular period.
But you caught this, you caught the thing in the background with that one frog like rubbing his little hands together saying, Je veux du fond.
Oh, is that the spirit of the wilderness?
That little guy.
It was me all along. Freddy the Frog. Yeah. You can call me Jacques if you want.
The bloodthirsty frog.
Yeah. I've gotten into some, mildly contentious debates on Reddit with certain parties.
Mildly contentious debates.
Yeah.
The internet is not a good place.
Yeah, I know. It's just like it's foolish. It's perhaps quixotic of me to
Oh,
even like try to do this, but it's like once I got my read on this show, I really wanted to warn people not to fall into the lost trap because I think if you fall into that trap, you will be disappointed.
right. But everybody has to learn that lesson for themselves, and it's
No,
not
they can
your
learn it from
job.
me.
No, it's not your job to protect strangers from disappointment.
I don't want them to
I
deal with what I want them to know.
Okay, but you're calling it a mildly contentious debate. So is there a point where you're like, "Oh, actually you don't deserve my protection because you're kind of an ass."
I mean, I did say at one point to someone like, okay, like, you can like dig in or whatever you want, but like you will be disappointed.
Yeah.
Like that's what this is leading to. So like I'm
Yeah.
just trying to like let you know, like this is how the show is.
Other problem with the internet is the tone doesn't really come across. So in your the way that you just said it, like you can believe that, but you're going to be disappointed. And that he probably read it like, "But you can believe that, but you're going to be disappointed." Like that is another big reason why I think email should be abolished. I think all communication should probably be reconsidered.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
It should have to reapply.
I mean, luckily there is a strong anti-supernatural camp in the Yellowjackets fandom, so there are at least some people who are more. Now I don't know if they fully understand the sort of like game that this show plays, but at the very least they're not buying into supernatural
Yeah.
stuff, which I think is a good sign.
Yeah.
And so anyway, like
Really something else that the world is burning down all around us, and people are arguing on the internet about whether it's going to be horny frogs or witchcraft.
supernatural woods demon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it is, but like it's always been like that, divertissements.
Divertissements. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
people crave distraction, I
I'm
understand.
sorry, I couldn't come up with an English word. What do we
Yeah.
call that? Diversion?
Are you Jacques?
Sorry, I feel like I'm Jacques now. Je ne parle que de français.
Yeah,
Anyway,
tu veux du son?
ouais, je veux du sang.
Uh
Uh,
yeah.
uh, and so
I
like
understand
it's an
people.
escape. It's
Yeah.
definitely an escape for me. And the world was burning when Lost was on too. So
What's
anyway,
that? You talking about that mid at best show from 20 years
oh my
ago?
God. JP Morgan, buckle up, because gonna be some Lost references. And if you think this show doesn't know about Lost, I'm just like, there's some coincidences if that's true. Because like I already thought this show was as lost as it could get, and then it got loster.
Lost year.
Like this episode is
Yeah, turn
so
the podcast off now.
so lost. It's painful. It hurts my heart. I don't know. It gives me flashbacks. Anyway, all right. Well, you want to dive into this?
Sure.
Okay.
No,
So
no, no. Let's hop in.
I'm gonna hop it all.
Yeah, you're
Hey,
welcome.
Pep. All right. So we start off in the past with a little subtitle that says 3 days earlier. And just to clarify, that's 3 days earlier from the end of the past part of the previous episode. I always find it weird when they do this when there's multiple time periods because it's like there's a reference here and you just have to understand what that means. I don't know.
If you
It,
can't figure it out within 30 seconds, then you should go to the doctor and have them look at your brains.
it's just funny, like on Lost, when they had the time travel and stuff, like they would do like 30 years earlier or something, and it's like,
Well, in on the X-Files,
oh my
they
God.
would tell us the exact day and time.
4:16 p.m. Yeah, it's like,
So
okay. Yeah, no.
maybe shows should do that just so we don't get confused.
It's just funny to me, but whatever, it's fine. This is I think very similar to the other 48 days, which actually did the exact same thing with little titles saying, 48 days ago, 40 days ago, counting
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
In that case, it was a whole episode, but it also, and in that case, it ended with the catching back up with the present timeline that we had left off, with these new characters showing up. And like this is the same structure, but just kind of compressed into the
I
teaser.
would, if they had stretched this into a whole episode,
Would you
I
have been
would
mad?
have refused to finish the show. There's not enough story there.
Well, no, they clearly agreed, and I agree too. I
I
agree
think
too.
15 minutes or whatever they did was quite enough.
I mean, the tail section drama had a lot more going on than they do here.
Yes, yes, yes.
So I think it made more sense to draw it out
Yeah.
in that case. Here, yeah, there's like, I mean, there's only 3 characters. It's, yeah, we're gonna get to a
And the
simple
frogs.
and did we get the frogs?
So many frogs.
Okay, sorry. So anyway, 3 days earlier, a frog climbs a tree, making a bulbous croak that is clearly the creature sound that we've been hearing all season. Then the frog jumps into a frog bog and begins mating, as many of them screech. They are recorded by frog scientists Hannah and Edwin and observed by wilderness guide Kodiak. Heretofore, what's the opposite of heretofore? Henceforth, thank you. Henceforth known as Cody. Edwin picks up a frog and puts it in a jar, and Kodiak says, "Guess it's like they say, the heart wants what it wants."
The whore.
I don't know why he's got that accent, but anyway.
You said hat.
Yeah.
Like he had a Boston accent. I think it's sad to take just one frog. Either take 2 or take none.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But at least they release it later.
They don't release it. First of all, I don't
show,
know,
I mean.
boy or girl. I don't want to refer to animals as it, so I'll just say her.
Okay.
They don't release her later. Someone else releases her.
Yeah.
They were going to take that sweet baby frog back to a lab to live a lonely life of being scrutinized.
I just mean the writers. I that's all I'm saying.
Fine.
But yeah, I take your point. It is Van who releases the frogs. So anyway, doing one of her good deeds for the season. All right.
Yeah, but I think the first one.
That's probably true, actually. Vance, I mean, she hasn't been the worst.
No, but
she hasn't been the best either.
It's like this episode they decided that she's not horrible anymore.
She's been
pretty bad so far.
She's a flip-flopper. She's always teetering between, but yeah, I agree. She's definitely,
they're trying to give all the badness to Shauna.
She's definitely waxing as like Lottie is waning, and anyway.
Okay. I guess I'll allow it.
Yeah, I saw this Reddit post before we got on that was like, I can't defend Lottie anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, well, fair enough. Okay. So then we go to 2 days earlier. Hannah thinks the frogs sound beautiful. Edwin is glad as well, though not about the roughing it part. Hannah wonders about Cody's scars. I never really see the scars, so I don't even know what she's talking about. But anyway, it's canonical that he has scars. You tell me where the scars are, all right? Jacket jockeys at whatever. Edwin jokes about it. Cody says you'd be surprised how many things can kill a man, and shoots some kind of small furry animal with his crossbow.
It's a bunny, right?
Is that what it was?
Yeah,
I couldn't actually
later
tell.
Well, here's your clue. I'm going to tell you how to understand television.
Okay.
Later, he says, I call this meal Peter.
Oh, that's what I thought he was just being weird.
Oh my God, you were so confused.
I didn't get it.
Whenever you think that somebody is just being weird, you should ask me what you're missing. And
I was thinking Peter the Possum,
Aw. Okay, we're gonna do some flashcards later. I'm gonna go to Barnes and Noble and get some kids first. What are animals?
Yes, Peter Rabbit is not. I just didn't even. That never occurred.
But Peter Possum.
Peter Possum, though, yeah, because alliteration. Anyway, okay, so it's a bunny.
Actually, they're called opossums.
Fair enough. Later, he cooks the bunny as Edwin inspects an injured toe. Hannah brings him a bandage and Cody asks her to bring some plates. She gets the plates, which are actually bowls for the record, and trips as she walks back. looking at Cody removing his outer shirt. Cody says the wilderness provides, meaning dinner, but Edwin is going to eat some kind of protein bar that they brought instead. Cody says they will run out, but Edwin says that the last team hid a stash somewhere. Um,
Ding, ding, ding.
yeah, so we get our second answer.
I was pretty excited by this one.
Yeah. It is. I assumed it was from Cabin Guy, but this reveals it's not. And I'll just mention at this point, like the first time I watched this, I thought what he actually said was like last year, but he says the last team. I think it has to be the same year because they clarified later that the frogs only do this every 7 years. So either it was 7 years ago or like there was a previous team that same summer.
Wow.
So I'm not
That's
sure.
interesting.
I'm not sure which one it is. But yeah, that's just a point. It could have been 7 years ago. The issue still remains like who dug the pit, because they were stashed in the pit and they were covered with a tarp. And so I'm assuming the team did that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they dug the pit. I don't know if it really matters who dug the pit, but I am just curious, since it's not been explained. Okay. So anything else about this scene?
No.
Okay. So then we go to one day earlier. Cody tries to protect some equipment. I think it's the DAT recorder, but I'm not sure, from getting wet.
Yeah.
As Edwin says to be careful with the equipment, and then says there's not a cloud in the cut to torrential rain as we get yet another Lost-esque scene. This exact fucking thing happens. Cody is Locke, y'all. Anyway, all right. So a tent is set up to protect them. Edwin measures the frog as Cody and Hannah throw hats into a card. Sorry, throw cards into a hat. Hannah asks Cody if he Kodiak if he was named after the bear. It's a subspecies. I looked it up. But he says no, it's the chewing tobacco. She asks if he grew up out there and how he got into the wilderness stuff. He says he followed a buck into the woods with his bow and never came out. And it's like, yeah, you fucking did. How'd you meet these people? Anyway, whatever. She is frustrated and asks how he connected with the university and mentions GeoCities for obligatory 90s reference. And he says he's a frog expert. And they look skeptical. As they look skeptical, he says, "Did you hear about those frogs looking for a leader?"
Why are you doing that for some? Can you stop?
That's my Cody voice. He's doing a voice, all right.
He's doing. It's not the community voice, if that's what
if you've if you've seen Joel McHale before,
it's not his talk soup voice.
Exactly. It's not how I'm used to him sounding, so that's why I'm doing a voice. I know it's not really what he's doing, but anyway.
Do your Clint Eastwood.
You gotta ask yourself. Yeah, he's Clint Eastwood. He's like a wilderness Clint Eastwood type figure. I feel like there's someone like that in some fiction somewhere. Anyway,
of course, yeah.
Okay. So what he's talking about here is one of Aesop's fables. I got this from the internet. So Zeus got the frogs a log and they sit on it and they complain they want a real king. So Zeus gets them a heron who eats them all. And then he admits that he doesn't know much about frogs, but he does know about horticulture, producing a joint and offering it to them. He calls Edwin Edgar as we transition to a later time when they're sitting in the tent just hanging out, smoking that joint.
Well, possibly go on.
It's all good.
This is where it turns into an after-school special.
Yeah, I know. See, kids, this is why you don't do drugs. Anyway, I should have done a voice there, and I didn't. Okay.
Kids.
All right. Let's see. He verifies, this is Cody, that the frogs, this is where we get the exposition about the frogs, that the frogs stay frozen for 7 years and then thaw out just to have a summer-long frog orgy. And we learned here that Hannah was the one interested in the frogs while Edwin was studying frog secretions like a normal person. We also learn that the Arctic banshee frog has never been recorded before. Hannah asks Cody if he also knows when the rain will stop. Edwin sets up some kind of portable satellite phone. Hannah tries to jokingly make a call to Miss Cleo, uh, another obligatory 90s reference, saying the call won't go through because they're not high enough. Fucking Lost thing again. This exact thing happened on Lost. Anyway, okay. She jokes about asking if Cody will find a Mrs. Cody. Cody tries to grab the phone and they struggle a bit, laughing as she accidentally sits on the antenna, breaking the phone. Edwin says it's their lifeline, but Cody says, no, I'm your lifeline.
He's definitely used that line before.
Yeah, so we get a tease here about the satellite phone, which is
Yes.
like a huge
Yes, it is.
hope of escape. And I guess in Lost they did both. They had like a flight communicator thing, and then they all the radio or
Yeah,
whatever, and then
yeah.
they also had a satellite phone later from the
Yeah.
freighter. So anyway, it's broken, but like, will they try to fix it later? I feel like
I
they
bet they'll
better.
try. They should
If
try.
they don't try, like, there's something wrong with them, which there is something wrong with them anyway,
But they may try anyway.
but they may try anyway. They do find it later, even though they don't make any progress in this episode. But yeah, it's very tantalizing because it's
Yeah.
like hope of escape. Of course, we know they won't be rescued very soon for like specific reasons. So anyway,
Right.
um, but it is possible that their rescue is related to the satellite phone eventually. You know, like it takes them a while to fix it, or I don't know, some
Yeah,
shit
but I think
happens.
and this is skipping ahead a little bit, but I think the the lines later in the episode about how Callie has to Google and sort of put together that this team of scientists disappeared 100 miles from where the Yellowjackets plane went down, and um the way that Callie Googled it, or that Shauna Googled, it makes me think that there wasn't a public and direct connection between this university research team and their discovery. So
Right. If they
so it
had
wasn't
used the
like
phone, then it would be known.
that, probably that, and but more what I had in mind was like if the university were to send a search team
Yeah.
to find the missing researchers, and they find the yellow jacket,
Right.
then that would have been part of the public narrative.
Yeah.
um
Well, now if they just found him, and they were able to hide the evidence and all that, like it's possible that they found them, you know, but it was still not known that there was a connection between them and their team that went missing.
Correct. What I am saying though is that's the headline. Search party looking for missing researchers finds yellow jacket
Yeah, I mean,
survivors.
you're right, but I think also there's the fact that they don't want to tell us how they got rescued yet. So,
I know, but Jeff would know that, like, I just it would be
I
it would be like
agree.
the top headline when you search it. I just like, yeah.
I agree. I'm just saying it could be a contrivance because they don't want to tell us. But I also think like probably the circumstance of their rescue or something that will be revealed later, and they're not telling us now. So I think that's also a good reason to think it's not that. But it's just, the game of this show is like hiding things, even though they technically should know all this stuff,
But
you
one of the
know?
reasons that I bring it up is that obviously we know that DAT recorder, or at least the DAT tape, is going to get out of the
Yeah.
woods. So there's various theories. Like for me, the most tantalizing thing about this episode is, how did the tape make it back, and what do various theories about that, what is suggested by the various theories we might come up with.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And
So
we should definitely talk about some
I
of
know I'm
those.
jumping ahead, but I just can't with this intro thing. Like it's so long, and yeah.
Well, we're getting close. But oh, I just wanted to mention that the frog's called the Arctic Banshee frog. Like that's clearly
Yeah.
an indication of the sound. Anyway, okay, so now we are back. We are down to the day. Edwin complains about Cody to Hannah as she defends him. He says
Yeah,
they.
were they lost?
Well,
Has Cody really lost his way here?
well, we can talk about it.
We don't
He
need to.
okay. He says, Edwin says, they should be going south. He looks at his compass and it's just spinning.
Yeah.
There's some other show where that happened.
Well, it happened in this show too.
And it happened in this show, which is
So,
already a lost thing. Anyway, um, Cody holds up a log to, like, they also did multiple groups having compasses not work on Lost. So that's my point. Anyway, um, Hannah apologizes, or sorry, Cody holds up a log to let them through. Hannah apologizes to Cody for Edwin. Edwin whispers that he doesn't trust Cody and wonders if he broke the phone on purpose. Cody tells them to stop murmuring, passing them by. Hannah gives him a look, and Edwin accuses her of being smitten. Hannah tells Cody to look for streams for tadpoles, and we see a symbol on a tree. At night, Hannah unpacks some equipment at their camp. Edwin comes up and shows her Cody's jacket with the name Eric Cheong in it, saying it's not his name. Hannah says maybe he got a second hand. She tells him to put it back as he smells barbecue. He says that means people are nearby and they should find them for, quote, strengthen numbers. Cody wouldn't recommend it, saying this far from civilization, it's a bad idea. Edwin goes to check it out. Hannah follows, then Cody follows. We and they hear the screaming from the last episode. Then we see the Yellowjackets frolicking around the fire. Hannah turns on the DAT recorder and we hear her say the words from the tape. Edwin approaches. All three are there as Lottie yells, "No!" We replay the ending of last episode and Van says, "We're going home," as we go to credits. And Wiki notes that this is a 15-minute teaser, the longest in Yellowjackets history.
yeah. It felt long.
Okay. So I think we are supposed to believe that they are lost.
Yeah.
And like that's part of the point is like they're because that conversation with Jeff and Callie later, they say they're 100 miles away. So I think this is to indicate that they were really far from where they were supposed to be, and that's part of why they were never found.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I think it is true. Um, but I mean I can't really prove it.
So I know we've sort of floated around this before in the show, kind of wants us to think this, but I feel like I'm more prepared now to believe that whatever it is that's making the compasses go haywire is what caused the birds to fall on the cabin and is
Yeah.
what made cabin guy go crazy, carve the symbols in the trees, and it's what's operating on some of the Yellowjackets. And no, I don't expect that to hold water scientifically,
Hmm.
but I do kind of expect that that's what the show is either going to imply or state.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it makes
Because it's more,
sense.
it's also more plausible than this gas pockets thing,
Yeah,
like which is a thing. I do think that there's something to that. Like it's a higher concentration. I don't know if those things are connected. I don't see
yeah.
how they could be. But I am also not neither am I a scientist, nor do I expect the show to be scientifically rigorous.
They suggested it was like iron or something,
Yeah,
and like there was also the like
the
river
river
of
of blood
blood
thing.
thing, which they also
Yeah,
explained that way. So I think that's probably true. Like it definitely feels in keeping with the show, and it's like it's not realistic necessarily, but it is like naturalistic. you
yeah,
know
yeah,
so I feel like that makes it totally possible because I mean the show isn't like completely realistic. It's just I think there's certain lines they won't cross.
yeah, Yeah.
Um,
So I think there's a lesson here, which is if you are going to eat somebody, even if you don't anticipate being stumbled upon, don't leave their severed head in a really obvious, like ritualistic,
they
you
honor
know,
their dead,
yeah, by
okay?
decapitating them. And I love this line that's coming up of like, he died of natural causes. It's like, I don't know what natural cause leads someone to have a severed head.
Yeah,
Um,
that's hilarious.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a classic Misty moment. So there's this thing about the jacket, like I don't know how much that matters. Maybe it's just in
yeah,
passing to sort of like build up the tension that will lead to this confrontation, you know.
yeah,
But I will say that Cody does survive this episode.
yeah.
And so what is he going to do going forward is definitely an open question.
Yeah, so that's really interesting because at the end of the episode, it's Aquila, Travis, and Cody,
Yeah,
and we don't
separated.
see, yeah, separated from them. We don't see where that
Yeah.
goes. And we're going to get to the scene, but Travis is not convinced by Lottie, to say the
Yeah,
least,
definitely not.
anymore.
There's another confirmation of that.
So yeah, we could be moving toward a faction.
Yeah. Totally.
And Cody's got,
Finally my factions come true. I've been
yeah,
waiting.
you have been waiting. And Cody has massive survival skills. I
Yeah.
mean, we think, and
Yeah.
he claims.
Yeah.
We have no reason
It would be
to doubt.
like it would be funny if they pulled a lock with Cody and they reveal he just works at a box company and like
Mhm.
he just wanted to go on a walkabout
Yeah, I mean
and
that's fine, but like as with Locke, I mean if you've got the skills, you got the skills.
that's true.
So
That's true. And but it's just yeah, even the thing with the arrow like killing the bunny like between them, it's like when Locke throws the knife.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah. It's a classic thing.
it is a classic thing, but it's like there's a very similar aspect to the way they're portraying those characters. And if they want to subvert it, like they
Yeah,
would go in that direction. But
yeah,
it's true that he can still know what he's doing, even if he's not as much of a mountain man as he portrays himself to be, which I think is totally possible. Um, what if they reveal that he's actually Joel McHale?
he's prepping for a part.
Yeah, exactly. It's research. I got this part in Showtime's Yellowjackets. Anyway, that would be weird.
Yikes.
Yeah, want to go full meta? Come on, y'all. Okay. So, yeah, you ready for the next scene?
Yeah.
All right. So we go back to where we left off. Hannah apologizes for interrupting, saying, "Oh, we'll just leave. Sorry, y'all."
Yeah. Nice try,
It's
Hannah.
like that is not gonna work. Misty says he died of natural causes, meaning Ben, as we just discussed. And Edwin says, tantalizingly, "You all are, oh my God," maybe realizing who they are as Lottie axes him in the back of the head.
Yeah, I was wondering if that's what that
It's
was.
they don't let him finish the sentence, so it's like I'm not 100% sure, but
But
it's
you
like
think pictures would have circulated
the world did
of the,
know.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's like and they probably knew the general area
Yeah.
where the plane went missing.
Yeah.
So like it's possible that they could be, oh shit, this is who it is. Like this is that team that went missing. Like
Yeah.
it seems like that.
Yeah, whenever these things happen, think of that yeah, I'm totally blanking on her name, that Aruba girl. That's a terrible explanation. But anyway, the news broadcasts pictures of these people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think if that is true, we should hear some about that from Hannah at least, because she probably would have seen the same reports, even if like Cody didn't, because he's not like involved in any mass media.
uh just to say Natalie Holloway is the name I was
Oh, yeah.
forgetting.
Sure.
And Googling Aruba girl did immediately produce the results.
Yellowjackets.
Yeah. The internet
Yeah,
the internet knows
I
what it's
do
looking
remember the
for.
name. I do remember the name. Uh,
No disrespect to her and her family.
but yeah, just it's an interesting idea that they actually know who they are,
Yeah,
because that kind of changes the dynamic a bit.
definitely.
Like you're not, it's not just this like weird like wilderness tribe that's gone
Right.
unnoticed for centuries. I don't know,
Right.
like they could
Like
believe some weird
satanic
shit like
Girl
that. Yeah,
Scouts.
exactly. Satanic Girl Scouts. That's pretty much what they are. Anyway, so yeah, Lottie axes him in the back of the head. She says it doesn't want them here. You mean the frogs? Because I'm not so sure. I feel like the frogs are kind of indifferent.
Well,
Anyway,
that one frog is probably pissed.
that one frog might be pissed. That's
And
fair.
maybe his mate.
Maybe that's what she means
Or
by
maybe the
it.
mate's all about it. Like, yeah, get this guy off me.
Enough already. All right. So Cody says run, and they run. Cody shoots Melissa with the crossbow, and Shauna orders Mari to stay behind with her as the rest of them pursue. Lottie smears Edwin's blood on her face, saying, "You'll see." Natalie tells them to clean up. More may be coming, and leaves as well.
Yeah, Lottie, don't do that.
Lottie's like real weird, and I do
She's
think
she's
this
lost her mind.
it's yeah, it's real wild. I think this thing with Lottie with the blood on her face is the
Yes.
vision that Shauna had in that earlier scene with Lottie's dad
Yeah.
that she thinks about. I think that's what this was a flash to. Like Shauna comes into the camp later and sees Lottie, and I think that's actually the specific moment.
I think that's the
But this
shot
is
they
like
used.
leading to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So anyway, like she's just like, it's like, what the fuck is wrong? What are you doing? Like, oh my god, it's so weird. Okay. We go back to the present. Shauna sits in the hotel bathroom, secretly listening to the tape. We hear Lottie axe Edwin, which they of course didn't allow us to hear in the last episode because they didn't want to give away that that happened. And then we hear Hannah.
It
Um,
also serves to allow Callie not to have heard it.
True, true. And then we hear Hannah apologize to her daughter, mentioning that it was a teenage pregnancy. Shauna looks up Hannah using the acronym KUH, which was also on the supply cases for what it's worth. And she finds a memorial page for Hannah. Jeff knocks on the bathroom door, asking if he needs to use the lobby bathroom. She says no and comes out, telling him not to spend time in the lobby. They're hiding from a murderer. Jeff says, "But you sent me for snacks yesterday." But Shauna says circumstances have changed. Shauna is leaving as Jeff asks where she's going. She says to make some phone calls. Jeff is frustrated that she's not telling him anything. Shauna says she's protecting them. Jeff mentions Callie missing school and his furniture business. Jeff says he has her back and she should know that by now and he wants to help. Shauna says she doesn't deserve him and asks him to keep an eye on Callie, saying that Callie needs to back off for her own safety, and he does too. We see that Callie has been listening in this whole time, and we see that she is using, quote, web browser to, which I thought was really funny. Like, okay, that's what they're using. They're web browsing to search unsolved missing persons plus Canada plus 1990s, and we briefly see the results. So anyway, she sort of put together what she heard on the
I
phone.
love Jeff in this
Clearly,
episode.
yeah, no,
Um,
I agree completely.
and poor
Um,
Jeff. He really does deserve better. And wow. Wow, Shauna.
I know. So we have we didn't talk about it. I they technically mentioned it earlier, and when I did a search, I found people talking about this as early as episode 1 when Ben finds the supply cases. This KUH thing. It's on the satellite phone also, for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Um,
King's University, Halifax.
and yeah, it's interesting to me that it seems like it should have some pretty basic explanation, and yet they haven't revealed it, and I don't know why. You know, it's weird. I researched it as much as I could, and it was clear that it just isn't known what it means. but it's clearly connected to the frog scientists somehow, and the idea that it's something university would make sense. It's just like, why are they hiding that? Like, I don't understand. Why not just tell us what it means? Because isn't now the time? Like,
Okay, so I was right. The study of a scientist who specializes in the study of amphibians, including frogs, is called a herpetologist.
oh,
So I'm
good.
going to go with Kalamazoo University of Herpetology.
That actually sounds not totally implausible. Um, frankly, yeah, Kansas. I don't know.
Kansas.
Um,
There's no Kansas University of
Kansas or
Herpetology.
Canada with a K.
Canada with a K. There you go. There you go.
Okay. I just think that's an interesting little detail here, that may or may not matter. Um, but yeah, your point. Okay, and then yeah, hey,
Hey.
everybody, you know me. It wouldn't be me if I wasn't complaining about Shauna's framing of the thread.
Oh God.
So
Well, now it's just in bad faith though. I don't believe I just think now she's just trying to keep them out of her hair.
is it though? Because later on, when she's talking to the Yellowjackets, I mean, she basically says the same thing. Like,
Ugh.
it's like, I mean, I'm not convinced that she doesn't mean this.
Yeah, I don't know.
It strikes me that she does mean it at this point. Like maybe earlier it was like hyperbole or something, but like it seems like it's real now. I don't know. We'll
I
we'll
don't
see. And
know.
it's worth noting that, Lottie killed one of them. And so there is at least the possibility of a motive for a connection between the stalker and Lottie, which before this was not clear, and which was why I was unconvinced. And by the way, I'm still not convinced that there is a connection, but at least they've opened up an avenue where it's possible. So there's that. But I still, I guess like if you're out for revenge, you know, you could go after the families. Like that's not totally implausible. But I think like,
Yeah, I mean, one explanation is just she's just losing it. Like she's cracking under all of this stuff. I mean, we saw her go crazy in the past under the weight of the loss of her baby and the loss of what's her name? Why do I keep on forgetting her name? Um her the ear girl.
Jackie,
Jackie, thank you. We see her kind of go
just
crazy when
Google ear
Ear
girl.
girl. We see her. What would I find? We see her go crazy when Jackie dies. We see her go crazy after the
Yep.
baby dies.
Yep.
So like Adam and
Yeah.
everything that happened, almost being murdered by the other Yellow
Yeah.
Jackets at the hunt.
Natalie, and
Natalie, yeah. So
then the
like,
Lottie thing.
so she's just kind of losing her grip on what's logical.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'll buy that. I'll buy that. I do think Jeff is convincing when he says he has her back. It's like, yeah,
Yeah, I think he does,
he
but I don't think she has
he was
his.
shown to be willing to go like all the way to like confessing to her
Yeah, going to
murder.
prison for
And so it's like, yeah, like if that doesn't buy you some trust, like what will, Sean?
yeah.
Like Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I do feel like he deserves to be brought in more at this point. Like, it's like
Yeah.
anyway, we'll see how that goes later. There's a coda to this Jeff and Callie thing. But it's clear that Callie's put together enough to figure out like at least basically what's going on.
Yeah.
With Shauna, and reveals it to Jeff later. That's where that's gonna go. But we can talk about that then. Okay, you ready to continue?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Ty is sleeping in her hotel room, their hotel room, I guess, with but Van's there, awake as Misty comes in the door, having lied to the hotel staff about being some kind of like FBI agent, I guess.
Yeah.
Van grabs a knife. I think it's just like a butter knife. But anyway, they ask what she's doing there. Misty asks why she didn't mention, Ty didn't mention meeting Lottie the day she died. Van is surprised. Ty says it wasn't anyone's business, but she didn't kill Lottie. Why would she? Misty
I don't
says,
know, bad one. Why would you?
yeah, there actually is a specific reason why she would, and Van knows what that reason is.
Yeah.
Misty says she has a history of doing crazy shit and not knowing about it, and guesses that Van thinks she could have done it. But Van finally says no, she doesn't. Ty says it's obvious. It's obvious that whoever sent the tape to Shauna is the one who murdered Lottie. And Misty says, what tape? Because she ain't been clued in because they left her out like they always do.
Yeah.
Ugh. All right. So yeah, I think this is
Yeah. I mean, I also don't believe that that's obvious at all.
totally not. Totally
And
not.
in fact, I don't believe it.
I'm not even convinced that she believes that's
No,
obvious.
I don't think she does. It serves an important plot purpose, which is letting Misty know about the tape.
Indeed. That's the thing. This is kind of a functional scene.
It's
just
definitely
to
a functional scene.
get us off the like confrontation with Ty train and onto the let's deal with who sent the tape train. That's sort of the transition we make here. Okay. So we go back to the past. Cody and Hannah run. The Yellowjackets pursue. Natalie stops to listen. They hear a branch snap and keep running. Hannah says they should go back to camp to use a sat phone, but Cody says they should go deeper. The phone's broken. Hannah thinks maybe she can fix it. She's worried about getting lost and their supplies, but Cody says that won't save you. Stick with me or you're on your own as they become separated. The Yellowjackets pursue the YJs. Anyway, Natalie waves teams in different directions. Hannah runs. She comes to a clearing. Her hair gets caught on a branch and a chunk is left behind. She finds a small ledge to hide under, and we see Van and Ty pass by. Van and Ty pass by. Hannah sits up and gets out the DAT recorder, and she talks to, quote, Alex, saying, I need you to know that I love you. And that's where we end things there. We will come back to that. Yeah. Someone
God.
getting lost in the wilderness with a daughter named Alex. Has that ever happened before? All right. I'm sorry. I have to say it. JP. I'm sorry, JP.
I'm shaking my head.
It's
for all
here.
of this.
It's here. I mean, okay. It's just the coincidences are unbelievable if this is unintentional. Okay. I don't say they all are, but like some of this is. Come on. All right. Anyway, yeah, so we do have a suggestion of fixing the satellite phone here. So I feel like that's at least like planting a possible seed for later. That's the main thing I want to mention. Okay, so we go back to the present. Shauna gets out of an elevator where Ty, Van, and Misty are waiting. Ty asks about her leaving, and Shauna asks, "What's Misty doing here?"
Oh God.
I'm
so sick of Shauna right now.
I got so annoyed with Shauna's reaction to Misty in this scene.
Yeah.
It made me irrationally angry.
Yeah.
It was like when Van was like, "You don't get to decide" to Natalie, when it's like, really, Van? Really, Van? Lottie gets to decide, but Natalie doesn't. That's how that works. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Anyway, Van's better this episode, but
you remember teenagers' brains are not fully formed.
right, and they don't have that excuse here.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, like Shauna's just, I don't know, like they better tell us that Misty did something like really bad to Shauna for me to understand why she treats her so badly. Because it's like there's nothing we've seen that justifies this level of like it's still like high school level, like ostracization. I don't know. I can't come up with a better word. It's like too fancy. But anyway, Ty asks what's going on. Shauna reveals that there was more than what Lottie did on that tape, saying that Hannah recorded a message for her kids. So they didn't know about that.
Yeah.
then says that, so, oh, I'll come back to it. Then says that Hannah had a daughter who somehow got a hold of the tape and is out to punish them. And Shauna is going to stop her. Misty thinks that cleanup will be needed, like before with Adam, and Shauna is rude to Misty some more. I'm just not
Yeah.
even going to bother
Yeah.
describing it. That's just what happens. Van notes that Shauna's record is iffy, asking what she's planning to do with this woman. Shauna says, sit her down and have a reasonable conversation. That's sarcasm.
Yeah.
Ty laughs. Shauna says she's already tried to kill me. And we get the checklist of doom,
Yeah.
the brakes, the freezer, and Ty mockingly mentions the phone, the creepy phone in the bathroom, which I appreciated Ty's sarcasm for once here.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, seriously, like, was that a death threat? Like, it wasn't, was it? Anyway,
Yeah.
um, like the brakes, the freezer, okay. I'm not even convinced by those, but at least those could lead to death. A phone in a bathroom, like, unless you're saying there's a bomb in that phone, like, anyway. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna call it the checklist of doom from now on. Ty mentions the phone. Oh, sorry, I just said that. Shauna says she won't end up like Lottie. Van says, we'll go with you. We find out that she tracked down Alex and she's in Richmond, Virginia. So they're going on a road trip. And that sets the stage for the rest of the episode.
I'm sure it's just gonna be a fun road trip story, with all the familiar beats.
Tons of good times. So I just have to say, like, there's
Yeah.
something here that isn't working for me.
Okay.
So, like, we open up on Shauna in the bathroom, right? And she's just like Googling, KUH, and she finds this memorial page, right? But then we follow her directly from the bathroom. She talks to Jeff, and then she leaves.
Yeah, that bothered me too. It feels like this is not the same. Like there were like hours of life that happened.
Yeah, it's like a day
between
passed or something
Yeah.
where she did a bunch of research and made
Yeah.
phone calls, as she says later.
Yeah.
I'm like, when the fuck did you do that?
I had that hang up too. I think there's some missing time in there.
Yeah, it's like they deleted some scenes or something. Like that scene should have had, like you said, like there's some in between bit that they just skipped over. I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't think it's significant.
But it's written to go straight from the bathroom.
I know.
So
yeah,
like,
it feels like normal storytelling. It's like she leaves the hotel, she leaves the bathroom, has this exchange with Jeff, opens the door, and bumps into them there.
Yeah.
But it can't have gone that way. Because otherwise Jeff's gonna be like, why are they here?
Right.
Because he's right there.
Yeah.
So I just think.
Well, she comes out of the elevator in the lobby, so he's still behind.
Nonetheless, I just think it doesn't really work this way. Yeah, I don't.
There's just like, I don't know. It might just be like they're trying to like get to the point, and so they just kind of skip it. Like we're supposed to take Shauna's little Googling as like a shorthand for all the research she did to find the person.
But I think I want to talk about I want to talk about this tape. But do you want to talk about it later?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess so, because it does come up several times more.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big point of contention in the episode. Okay. But I do think that I believe that Shauna, after hearing the tape, believes that she knows who is behind it, and like she's gonna go kill her. Like that's basically what is going on here. Like I believe that part of it, and so that's why when she says that stuff to Jeff, like I feel like that's basically true, like in a vague way, true at least. That she thinks this is a murderer. She thinks that this person killed Lottie. Now that may not be true, since like there's some suspicion on Shauna about Lottie later.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, that she thinks this person is a threat.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, I don't know. Shall we continue?
Yeah. The stuff I want to say about this is more for later.
Okay. All right. So we hear more of the tape message. From Hannah to Alex, Misty hears it for the first time, saying there was no mention of offspring in her obituary. Shauna says it was a teen pregnancy. The daughter never had her mother's name. She found the birth record in Hannah's hometown, and she found Alex's address from there.
Right, right. So she has found the birth certificate. I mean, this is like, yeah, that's a full day of research. Like go and find a
Yeah.
birth record. Yeah.
Yeah, totally, totally. Misty is impressed, right? Because like Misty would have known about this if
If it
any of
was easy to
those
find.
crumbs
Yeah.
were there available, right? So it's
Yeah.
clear that they didn't know about this before.
Right.
They knew about the frog people for sure,
Yeah,
but they
obviously.
didn't know that there was this like connection to someone back in the real world.
Yeah.
Okay. Misty wonders why they didn't know about the kid, but Van points out that someone did. They smuggled a tape out of there.
Hmm.
Ty points out that Gen and Melissa got close to Hannah, but Van says they're both dead. Misty outlines two mysteries: who brought the tape, and why would Alex wait 25 years to come for revenge? Saying it doesn't make sense. Ty mentions Misty's accusation of her not making sense, and she says, touche. And we end on that point.
So I don't like Ty doing that because I want us to dig into those questions.
It's one of those annoying TV
Yeah.
pivots, which
Yeah.
our other shows have done,
Many
other
shows,
ABC
many
shows.
shows have done that. Many shows have done that. It's a classic move because the writers want to
Don't
hold
want to
off.
give more
So,
details.
but those are massive questions, and so, you know, I don't have any theories about why wait 25 years and do it now. Um, but I mean, maybe it has something to do with the like the reunion. I don't know. That happened.
That's true. That's relatively
Um
recent in terms of the show timeline.
yeah.
Within months, I
Yeah.
believe.
Um but anyway, but I do have a preferred little theory about, okay, so I want to know why they're so confident that Gen and Melissa are dead, because TV shows have done this before. I mean, old ass books have done this before too. It's like it's just a fictional trick to say like, well, so and so's dead, and then you find out later, well, we had every reason to believe that they were dead, but it turns out actually they weren't. So I want to know why they think that they're dead. I want to know if they made it out of the wilderness at all or if they died afterward. I want to know, um so, obviously if we see them die in the wilderness and get eaten, I'm gonna no longer be skeptical, you know.
Yeah,
But like, I'm not ready to believe that Melissa is definitely dead, because I do recognize that I was completely taken in season one by what the writers wanted us to think, which was that Adam Martin was Javi.
yep,
I fell for it completely. So I've been skeptical this season about Melissa because I know that they've done this before,
yeah,
like try to trick us, but they could be double tricking us with this. And
right.
because
You'll
here,
think it's something else, so
yeah,
we'll actually make it Melissa.
right. So here's the scenario. Let's say Melissa is among the Yellowjackets who are rescued and makes it back into the world, but has this knowledge from having built a human relationship with Hannah about the kid, about Alex. And let's say that Hannah makes Melissa promise to take her the tape. And let's say Melissa, after returning to society, for some reason or another, decides to fake her own death. Maybe she can't stand all the constantly being badgered about what really happened out there. Like, she just wants to start her life over again completely with a totally new identity. There are reasons that she might do that that have nothing, that are just about like trying to protect herself from paparazzi or whatever. Or it could be that she is specifically afraid of what might happen if it somehow comes out, if somehow Shauna or Ty finds out that she delivered this tape to the daughter,
Mhm.
right? She delivers the tape to her somehow, and maybe she is or isn't the person who dropped the tape off at Shauna's house with the symbol, but she could have ended up telling Alex about the symbol. It's also worth
Mhm.
noting that
Queen of Hearts too.
Queen of Hearts, right? It's also worth noting that because they make a point out of it was a teenage pregnancy, which puts Alex around the same age as the
Yeah,
Yellowjackets themselves.
I think deliver.
So there's this other situation, maybe she falls in love, maybe they fall in love, or they just become really good friends. And so I don't know. So
Yep.
that's where I am with my
Yeah.
theory.
Yeah. 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 Okay. So I wanna pivot to a slightly different point and then circle back to what you
Okay.
just said. Okay. I just want to say this stuff because like there's implications here that like we didn't know about before. So I just love when they do this because this allows us to know things in a
Hmm.
in a vague way that we haven't actually seen.
Yeah.
So uh so so they mentioned that okay, right. There's how am I going to put this? So the first thing I just want to say is like I think it's clear from this like they most of them didn't know about Alex, right? Didn't know that Hannah, who they had captured for some time, had a daughter. I think it's also clear now that they didn't know about the DAT recorder.
Yeah.
Only
Yeah. Yeah.
only whoever this is, whoever the Yellow Jacket affiliated person is
Hmm.
that you know is involved in this story, like found out like so I'm guessing that what happened was at some point Hannah confides in one of them and tells him about Alex and tells him that I had a DAT recorder. It's hidden under some rocks by this clearing or whatever,
Yeah.
and that person goes gets the thing and brings it back,
Yeah.
right? That's what should happen.
Yeah. So that actually reminds me of my other theory, but I guess I should wait because I just interrupted you. Go ahead.
Okay. So so anyway, just to say like I think that's the basic way that this happened. I think we have to have a collaborator
Yeah.
because I think even if Hannah sorry, even if Alex like treks out there and somehow finds the DAT recorder
Uh-huh.
and maybe she sees the symbol on the tree.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, she can't know about the Queen of Hearts thing like that.
Right.
So I think that there has to be, or I mean, you know, I think there has to be a Yellow Jackets collaborator. Like, I think there has to be two people involved there.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one thing I just want to try to establish. I think that's true. Okay, another thing is so we get this tantalizing detail that Gen and Melissa get close to Hannah. Like, I think that's interesting. I mean, especially for Melissa, because the way they portray Melissa so far, I would not expect her to be fucking sympathetic to Hannah after getting shot in an arrow, and the fact that she was like hardcore before this. The way she treated Ben, you know, based on like a wild accusation that's unproven.
Yeah.
When she herself got shot by their team, and like then she makes friends with Hannah, like that's kind of wild to me. I think it also indicates that Hannah's gonna survive for some significant period.
Yeah.
She's not going to make it out. We know she's dead, pretty much. I guess there's room for doubt in terms of, you know, what you're saying, some kind of wild scenario, but like
I think she's dead.
the world thinks she's dead.
Yeah.
Whereas with Alex, obviously, or Melissa, you know, I mean, maybe the world thinks she's dead, but like, do they have concrete proof of that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, okay. So the other thing I wanted to say uh, is that uh, uh, okay. So the idea that Gen and Melissa are both dead. Okay,
Mhm.
this line.
Mhm.
Now you're correct to point out they don't specify when they died, right?
Mhm.
So they could say, for example, Lottie and Natalie, they're both dead, right? They could say that, and it would be true, but it doesn't mean that they died out in the wilderness.
Right.
Okay, so there's actually multiple scenarios possible here. Like one is they actually one or both of them got out of the wilderness. They know that, but they died later supposedly.
Yeah.
Perhaps even faked their own death if they want to go that far, right? Did you suggest that
I
already?
did.
Yeah, with Melissa, right? So like it could be Gen too, for the record. Um, like I don't know why they would make it Gen, but anyway, just to say like they do that, right? And that's why they think that, and it's going to be revealed that they did it for some reason. So basically your theory, right? There's that. Okay. And then but then the other possibility that I think that one is like a more plausible one. They came out of there with the tape, right? And then did this scheme. And like, why did they wait? I'm not sure. But anyway, like the story would have to explain that. And of course, I think part of like, why did they wait is like, they just have to acknowledge that because it's a contrivance. It's going to have to happen in the timeline of the show. So like, they're
Yeah.
kind of stuck with that. So like, I'm not sure how much that really matters, I guess is my point. Okay. So, the scenario that I find less plausible, but is technically possible, is that like one of them or both of them like go missing at some point in the wilderness
Right.
and they manage to survive and they manage to come back to civilization.
Well, I'll tell you how that could happen with the assistance of Joel McHale.
Sure.
And so it's possible that Shauna knows that Melissa didn't die in the same way that Natalie was.
Knew that Ben didn't die.
Yeah, and Misty knew that Crystal did.
Right.
Like, so if
Or did she? We'll come back to
whatever.
that.
So let's say Shauna knows Melissa made it back. So she has actually already put it together that Melissa must be the one who smuggled out the tape.
Yeah.
And
Going back to what did they look like? The whole
yeah,
thing I'm
yeah, yeah, yeah.
obsessed with.
Yeah, yeah. So that's my other pet theory or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um I mean the other thing is just like I don't really think this, but she knew about the DAT recorder, or someone knew about the DAT recorder, tells the kid, but they didn't smuggle it out, and so 25 years for the kid to find the DAT recorder in the wilderness
Yeah.
because they had like 100-mile radius to search.
Right.
Like I don't,
Yeah.
I you
I don't
know
believe that
I don't
either.
believe
I
that,
just wanted to mention it
but
as technically possible.
yeah, no, I mean I yes.
Uh, Now, if Cody survived, I think he'd be coming for him from the way they portrayed him.
Yeah, and he's got blonde hair.
He already, yeah, and he grew it out. That would be
Grew it
really
out.
funny, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I think you're right that like that is the path. If one of them survived without their knowledge, then it would be through Cody.
Yeah.
And that would make sense. And mountain men tend to grow out their hair and their beards, so
Yeah, we saw a flash of blonde, but maybe it was blonde beard.
that's what I'm saying. He is kind of blondish, so
What describe physically the person who picked up the phone? He looks like the guy from Community, actually, but with scars. Lots of scars.
yeah, all those scars.
So many scars.
Did you not notice the scars? He looked like Scarface. Anyway, Scarface didn't really have many scars either, but he did have one on his face. Anyway,
I was like, you better have.
Sorry.
They call me Scarface because I have such a blemish-free complexion.
Yeah, it's ironic.
It's
y'all.
ironic.
Is irony dead?
Like
Come on.
that, like that huge guy that they all call Tiny.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like that, or Biggie Smalls. Anyway, so yeah, I think, there's some interesting scenarios here, and it's just I I don't quite believe that Cody survived, but I do think like I, I do think there's something there. Like they're set up to make that at least a plausible theory. So I think we got to put it on the table. But I think that's what I think that more or less is like the set of options we're working with going forward for this season. It should be one of those things. Hopefully we covered it and we'll be totally vindicated when it happens. I I I don't actually have a specific preference because they all sound a bit outlandish to me. So it's like I'm trying to think of like what the simplest one is because I feel like that's the one that is the most likely, but they're all like a bit convoluted. So
Yeah. Maybe there's
I don't know.
something very simple that we haven't thought of yet.
Yeah, maybe so. Okay, so yeah, you ready for the next bit here?
Let's do it.
Okay, so now they pull into a gas station. Misty wants some floss picks. Ty offers to pay for gas, but her card is declined. Shauna goes to pay.
Oh, she doesn't really offer.
Well, she she like
Yes. Please continue.
whatever.
Yeah.
That's a very Claude thing to point out. Like technically no, I'm just being vague here, but yeah. She goes to pay like reluctantly, but still. So Shauna goes inside to pay. I just want to point that out because there's actually a reveal later about what she
Yeah.
did when she was in there because she's always doing shit off screen.
Yes.
Like God, Shauna hiding things is like a name of the game this season. Actually, Jeff earlier said the secrets are her love language.
That
was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And very, very true for this season. I feel like more so than previous seasons. Um, okay. Where did I leave off? There we go. Van asks Ty about seeing Lottie. Ty says she went to ask about what Lottie said, the whole like, it is pleased, blah, blah, blah. The thing we saw her talking phone about. So it's like, after Lottie blows her off, she goes like, no, you're going to fucking tell me. You're going to remember, Lottie.
Which is somewhat plausible, but then did you also get so whipped up that you pushed her down the stairs?
Yeah.
Would you even remember?
Yeah. Exactly. Van is not convinced. Ty insists. Van says that she won't live that way, but Ty says she'll do it for Van. Van asks her to promise that she didn't do it, but Ty doesn't answer before Misty arrives with the floss picks, saying Van looks a bit pale. I didn't realize this was foreshadowing when this happened originally. Van brushes it off as motion sickness and they get in the van. Shauna comes out and complains about pumping the gas because it wouldn't be Shauna if she wasn't complaining about something. And usually it's Misty. I feel like she should blame Misty for having to pump the gas. Anyway, all right.
Misty?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's so ridiculous. All right. Yeah, I mean,
the credit card getting declined thing.
She says it must be all the hotel charges, and it's like, I guess, I don't know. It's not
maybe,
totally impossible.
But it seems like this. I don't know. It feels like a very the bad one thing to be so flippant about her credit card getting declined and like running up a whole hotel bill that she can't pay.
Yeah.
You know, you
think it would have been declined at the hotel, like before this, not some like pitiful like gas charge,
Yeah. I mean, there might be something else going on.
Like they were just ordering like outrageous amounts of food service and massages and like
you kind of delicate with that sort of thing with hospitality though, because there could be some reason and you don't want to accuse your elite clientele of like not having the money. So there could be a plausible explanation.
Okay. Yeah, I think we still have to find out, I think, just more specifically like what happened between Lottie and Thaisa. Like,
yeah, absolutely, we need to.
That's still an open question.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the big thing.
Like they give us a moment where Ty could like promise that she didn't do it, and they don't. They dodge it. So
Yeah, and I wouldn't trust it anyway because again, like how much of what we're seeing is Ty and how much is the
yeah,
bad one?
indeed, and that does come up later. And there's even more to the story, so it's a whole thing. All right, so you ready to continue?
Hmm.
All right, so we go back to the past. Van and Ty discuss who these new people are, and they find the camp, and they hear a thumping, and it's the frog in the jar. Ty looks at a map. Van lets the frog loose. Ty finds the sat phone. They notice the KUH on the phone and say that it was also on the stuff that, quote, Ben brought back, which I thought was a weird way to say that. Like, did he I don't think he brought that back, did he? Or do they mean brought it to the caves? Is that what they mean by brought back? Like, it's just a weird, I don't know. The phrasing was weird to me. Um, but that all happened off screen. I did see a behind the scenes like an interview where it was like, yeah, we didn't think it was worth showing that they brought the supplies. We thought you should just assume that. And I'm like, yeah, we're not gonna assume that. You need to fucking tell us if they did something like that. Anyway, um because like later on you could think, well, we never showed you blah blah blah, so why did you
Uh-huh.
assume that? You know,
Yeah.
it's like that's I don't fall for that shit anymore. I used to assume things and I realized I shouldn't. Okay. So Van tries the phone, but it doesn't work, and then she notices the broken antenna. Ty says, at least we have the supplies, but Van says, we don't need it. We just need to find these people so we can go home. See how that works. Okay. So any comments about this?
I mean, it's nice to see Van in an optimistic state, but I think it's really setting her up for a
Disappointment?
hard crash
Yeah.
when she realizes their Jeep is not right around the corner.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So the mystery of KUH continues.
No, we
Um
cracked it, remember?
so yeah, you're right, good point. Herpetology?
Yeah, Kalamazoo University of Herpetology.
All right. Travis and Aquila look for the newbies. Aquila wonders what Lottie's reason was for axing Edwin, suggesting maybe she saw something and she knew he was a bad guy.
God.
Travis isn't so sure.
Yeah.
Misty shows up and says that the shit ridge is near. That's what she called it.
I know. It's just wow.
And they should do a pincer maneuver. Travis and Aquila will drive him towards the ridge, and Misty will cut him off. Misty looks nervous. Okay, so yeah, I mean, further like development of this like Aquila, Lottie, Travis thing, like just you know, like okay, like all this happened with Ben, and like now she just like acts someone in the back of the head, and like, is this who we should be following? Like, it seems like even Aquila is like sort of doubtful here, but like Travis is like fully like just no, just don't even.
Yeah.
Okay. Next scene we go to Hannah crouching in her little hiding nook. She hides the DAT recorder under some rocks as Nat and Shauna approach. And then we see Cody. He hears a gunshot. It's Travis with the gun, by the way. They're kind of cutting between things here. And they react as well. Hannah gets up worried and then hides again. Cody runs. And then Shauna finds the chunk of Hannah's hair and puts it in her pocket.
Yeah.
Like why?
Are you gonna give it to the woods? Like,
Yeah.
why
Or
are
like
you
make some
doing
kind of
this?
like jewelry with it or something, you
She's just
know.
looking for a hobby.
It's crafting. I don't know. Natural materials. I just thought it was weird that she put it in her pocket. Like, what's that gonna do anyway?
Yeah.
Um, Shauna pulls a knife as they approach where Hannah is. Hannah tries to get up and just surrenders. Nat tries to reassure her, but Shauna's mad about Melissa. Hannah says that it wasn't she has no weapons. She explains that Cody was a guide. Shauna says that we could just kill them and they'll still come looking, and then there'll be no witnesses. It's a win-win. Ty suggests not going rogue. which is what Natalie did. It's a little bit of a like stretch here to make that connection, but anyways, like look how it worked out for Natalie, and it's like, yeah, you chose to react that way. So
Yeah,
like,
good point.
I just felt like
Yeah,
that's
I
like,
thought that was a little flimsy and weird.
it is, it is. It's like if Shauna just bullies everybody and they take it, then she'll still be the leader. Like,
Yep.
you know, like that's all it is. Like, so I don't know. Anyway, whatever. Um, Van says it's bad enough what Lottie did and says sorry to Hannah. Hannah mentions that she knows where to find first aid supplies for Melissa. So maybe that is like setting the stage for how the
Yeah.
bond gets formed there.
Yeah.
That's what I thought the second time at least.
That makes sense to me. I didn't really think
Um,
about it.
when I was paying
But
better
it is
attention.
true that, it was Cody who shot her. So,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But like a further sort of connection,
yeah.
like why would she care about Hannah?
But also, like, you axed my boyfriend in the head.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, I mean, it's not like it was unprovoked.
definitely, definitely. Um, yeah, and you had a head on a spike when we came in.
Well, yeah. There's that.
So like, y'all ain't innocent.
But it's like, you didn't know him. That's our business, not yours.
Right. Yeah, that was fully justified. Or was it? Anyway, we were actually mad about it, but also anyway, blah blah blah. Um, okay. Yeah, and so yeah, just for the official record, like this is the setup of like what happened to the dad tape. As of now, this is as far as we know. It was hidden there under some rocks. She didn't bring it back to the camp, so like whatever's gonna happen with it, someone's gonna have to find out that it's there. So we'll see. Okay. Next scene.
Yep.
All right, so we go back to the present. Misty plays I Spy, something beginning with a K. I actually think this is like foreshadowing.
I mean, I actually think it would take a long time to find that thing anyway.
Yeah.
Because they leave and it's like under a log or something.
It's under some rocks.
Yeah, but she's hiding under a log.
It's rocks under, well, it's like sort of a
It's
little
ledge.
ridge. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So and
I
there's
thought it was like a hollowed out log.
there's a clearing
Got it.
there. I don't know. Maybe
Okay.
it's a hollowed out
Okay, it's by
log.
the clearing.
Yeah, I assume like she'll either say that and we're just supposed to accept that they know what that is, or it's possible that Hannah's gonna survive for a while. Like maybe they do an expedition and she just like takes.
I just think it's gonna be hard to find it again.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
I mean,
but they're gonna.
she's
find
not
it,
she's not a tracker.
Yeah, they're gonna
But
find it.
Yeah. They're gonna find it again.
So it's however
No,
it
I mean,
is.
what you're saying doesn't matter. I'm sorry, bro.
They could just run into it accidentally. Even like there's various possibilities. They're just out looking for animals or something, and they just stumble upon it, and because of the bond, she decides to
This is
share.
a cool pile of rocks.
No.
A little strap like sticking out or something.
What I'm imagining is that it's like Hannah and one of the Yellowjackets.
Okay. Hannah and Melissa are out on a walkie looking for Rabbit, looking for Peter.
Yeah. And they just stumble into it. Just for example.
Oh my God, this is where I hid my dad. Yeah.
Some shit like that.
All right, fine.
I mean, I think there's various ways they could go with it, but I'm not really worried about how they're going to find it because they're going to.
Yeah, well, fine.
What else did I want to say here? Right. Sorry. We're going on to the next scene. So Misty plays I Spy, something beginning with a K, and someone suggests knife. Actually, it's Shauna who suggests knife, and I realized later that it's like a Freudian slip.
It's
because she fucking bought a knife in that gas station. Like that's revealed later.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's like, oh shit, did Misty see my knife? Anyway, because I feel like she would have if anyone would have.
All
right. At this point, Misty finds a Lincoln Tunnel receipt in the van. It turns out that it was knapsack. Walter calls. Misty picks up and reveals, and Walter reveals that the fingernail stuff matched Shauna's hair DNA. Saying,
yeah, that's big. That's big. And also this scene, I just like it just cracked me up so hard when they start texting each other.
It's pretty ridiculous. And it's like they had to get out of this. Anyway,
Hmm.
Walter says this means that Shauna killed Lottie, which I think is not quite conclusive
Not
yet,
quite.
but it certainly throws some suspicion. Misty plays it off, like on the phone, like she does this like fake thing. Yeah, yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
classic thing where she's like, "Oh shit,
But don't call me.
I might be in the car with the murderer, so I have to just pretend to
Yeah, yeah,
be
yeah.
like having a different conversation from the one I'm having." Um, I feel like there was room here to have like Walter understand and play along, but he says nothing more here, so
Yeah, they
I
didn't
don't
want
know.
to pay him for this episode.
It's yeah, it's just weird. Walter has been like very little used this season. I expected him more when he was at the
Maybe
beginning.
there's another Lord of the Rings coming up.
There is actually. Anyway, Shauna and Ty laugh at Misty, and then Misty sends text to Van and Ty revealing that Shauna's the killer. Ty is skeptical, but Misty explains about the DNA, and Ty says we need to stop the car. Shauna realizes they're texting each other, and Ty pretends to have to pee to get Shauna to stop. Shauna wants to know what's going on, but Vanna Van throws up blood.
Yeah, it seems like she's faking it, but she's not.
She is not. She is not. This is just a
Can't fake
coincidence
that.
because it's like how else are we going to get out of this scene? Like they're in this position where it's like we're either going to have a big confrontation or we need something to divert them, and so they went with Plan B. So they get diverted by that. Um, um, yeah, I want to talk more about the DNA, but it comes up later, so I think I'll leave it till that point.
Okay.
Okay. So we go back to the past. Cody runs and shoots at Misty in pursuit. Misty's glasses fall off. I don't know if she recovers them. I don't know if she's like missing because yeah, I think let me see. Yeah, I think we don't even see her again this episode. So
Yeah.
like, is she missing her glasses for the rest of the time in the wilderness? Because that's gonna be a pain. Or is she gonna take Edwin's
Maybe
glasses?
Warby Parker can find her.
To be like the Sawyer thing, like they just like get some
No,
anyway. All right.
no. They don't have
Um
a welding iron.
eh, maybe there's one in the supplies. All right, whatever. Um I just thought it was weird that they do this and like it's unresolved. Okay.
Solar
So
powered glasses repair kit.
yeah, why not? Why not? Travis and Aquila hide behind a tree. Aquila warns Cody about the shit cliff, and Cody turns around but slips and falls over the edge but hangs on just by the edge of the ledge, by the ledge edge, by the
Ledge.
ledge. Thank you. And he's about to let go when Aquila says don't, and Travis says, take us back with you. Travis uses his gun to pull Cody back up, and Aquila takes the crossbow, and that's where we leave this group. So we'll have to come back to that because I thought maybe they came back at the end, but they don't. There's no follow up here with Misty or with Aquila, Travis, and Cody.
Yeah.
So that's open for next week. Um, Okay, and I also think it's just interesting and notable that they revisit the shit cliff here, or
And still no mention of
and no
Crystal.
mention of
And
Crystal,
it's also still dark.
and Misty is even there.
Yeah.
And it's just like I'm just like waiting for something. They even kind of do a shot where you see it, but you can't
It's
see
too
anything on the ground.
dark.
It's too dark. Yeah,
Yeah.
basically. So I'm hoping if they're hanging there, because by the end it's morning again. I'm hoping that maybe we'll get a follow up on that next week.
Yeah.
I'm not holding my breath, okay, but I'm hoping. It's called hope. It's called blind hope. All right. Yeah, we'll pick that up later. But I do think getting a crossbow is definitely a win for the Yellowjackets because that's a useful weapon to have in this circumstance. Because like the ammunition must be finite, you know, like they had some from the cabin, but the cabin has now burned. how much did they actually save? You know, I just feel like at a certain point, maybe they just gotta, you know, and maybe that's part of why they do the pit also.
Oh, that's a good theory.
Um, okay. Next scene.
Yeah.
All right, so we go back to the present. They arrive at a hospital, and the rest of them, besides Ty, find out that Van has cancer. Ty goes in with Van. Misty tries, but ends up staying outside with Shauna. They sit together. They didn't know about the cancer. Misty thinks that Shauna is pretending to care about Van and accuses her of killing Lottie. Shauna is shocked and offended. Misty mentions DNA evidence. Shauna says she stayed at my house. Misty says the evidence indicated a struggle. And Shauna says, oh, like under her fingernails. And Misty's like, is that a confession? And she says no. Misty asks about the Lincoln Tunnel receipt. Shauna is offended. Misty is not convinced. Shauna gets up to, quote, get a Coke, and she pretends to use the machine and leaves the hospital. And Misty follows and sees Shauna drive away.
So I love that because obviously this is what she wanted all along, was to not have them around on the
Indeed.
trip. But you know, I'm no geneticist, but like half the rest of the internet, I'm sure. I'm just gonna throw out there, wouldn't the DNA match if it was Callie's DNA? And is it possible that Callie is the one who took the minivan?
Uh, that is technically possible. Well, okay. So I I I guess I don't know how I don't know how specific they care about the DNA testing. I do think the DNA can tell the difference between a parent and child. So if it really was a match
But
to
isn't this how they caught the Golden State Killer?
well, they can tell familial relations, but they can tell when they're not the same person. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Like they
I
could
mean, Walter is not a
if
geneticist.
they like what I'm saying is they could detect familial relationship
Yeah,
between the hair and the fingernail stuff,
yeah.
right? But that's not what he said. So
But
anyway,
if it's like it's a match, like how matchy does it have to be for his like network to tell him it's a
there's
match?
wiggle room there for sure.
I'm saying they might wiggle into that room because I am still determined that they must tell us.
Follow up the
They
line thing.
must follow up the Callie
Yeah,
lie
yeah, yeah.
thing.
I agree that that's a loose end, and another point to make about that is they haven't talked about it
Yeah.
in a long time.
Yeah.
So, like, you would think with all this discussion and like that it would have come up, but it hasn't.
Yeah.
And I think that's conspicuous in any mystery story. If they're not bringing up something that was significant earlier for a long time, watch out, y'all. So anyway, I think that's a totally valid point, and they can fudge it if they want. I'm just going to point out that they did explain ostensibly why Shauna went to New York City, which was to get that cat. The cat that looked like the cat from the poster.
Yeah, so the cat could have been the Lincoln Tunnel thing.
Yeah.
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 Fine.
For what it's worth.
Yeah. You're right.
And the other thing that I think is worth mentioning is like there is an alternative explanation that's possible here, which is what Shauna says, that it's like just from being in her house. Like she scratched her nails somewhere in the bathroom or whatever and like just picked up
Yeah.
some of Shauna's DNA like that.
Yeah.
Her hair was surely around the house. You know, that's like normal dust and skin cells are
She
around
like
the house.
clawing her hairbrush.
I know it's weird, but I'm just saying, like, I think technically that's possible.
Oh, is there a scene where she's braiding Callie's hair? No, Callie's braiding her hair.
Callie's braiding her hair, but it could be that they traded. Anyway, yeah. And then that would be a match for Callie,
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
for what it's worth. Yeah, I think there is room for suspicion though, because you know it struck me as weird to have Shauna go to New York City just for this cat, and there's the unaccounted for time in the previous episode where she shows up at 2 a.m. When like we saw
Yeah.
her separated from Walter like
Yeah.
during daytime. And then there's also the phone call to the bar that I'm still hung up on. Like, there's just all this stuff that Shauna seems to be hiding.
Yeah.
And so, like, I still think there's a chance. I don't really believe that she killed Lottie, but I feel like there's a chance that maybe she actually, like, got involved when Thaisa was there. Like, maybe the two of them were there at the same time, or she saw Thaisa confronting Lottie. I don't know. Just I feel like there's a chance something happened there.
Yeah.
And so I just want to, throw that out as a possibility.
Yeah.
Um, that it could have been the two of them or whatever. Or she came in after Thaisa left or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I just don't trust Shauna on any level at this point.
Yeah.
So I just can't take her at her word. I just think it's like a little too obvious that she killed Lottie. So that's why I don't believe it. But I still feel like she could be hiding something, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. So all right, next scene.
Yeah.
All right. So in the next scene, we're in the hospital. Ty sits with Van and regrets not killing someone. There's a weird guy in the next bed. Ty jokes about killing him. Van says, don't. Ty says she didn't mean it and tells Van to relax. God, relax.
Yeah, everybody loves being told to relax.
Just fucking relax. Like, I was like seriously ready to murder someone and I just talked about how I should have done that for you, but like just relax. It's just like the bad one is the worst. Anyway, the worst one. Okay. So and then at this point, Van like has a vision of Lottie for a bit. It's a weird little thing they cut in here that doesn't come back. I don't know what to make of that. And then she sees Teen Van come in with a torch saying, "You're afraid. We never actually cheated death. It was always an even trade." And then she lights the bed on fire. Adult Van freaks out. And then she, quote, wakes up, but she's not really awake. And she sees the bad one who with dirt on her mouth and she says, "I won't let them take your eyes." Van asks, "How long has it been you?" And the bad one says, "You're not going to die," because there's no answer for that. Van says, "I need the real Ty." The bad one says, "But I'm the one who can save you." Van says, "For what?" Back to reality, Van needs a transfusion, and Ty promises that she won't die, and they stabilize her, and that's where we leave things with that part of the story for this episode. So Van did not die here, even though it looked like an emergency for a bit.
Yeah.
Though I still think there's a possibility that she will, or Ty just kills someone and like then she survives miraculously and they play that game again. I don't know what they're gonna do. But yeah, it's interesting that like I guess I thought after the last episode that like Van realized that it was the bad one. I mean, it's clear that she did from this little thing, right?
Yeah.
She says, "How long has it been you?" But she doesn't act in this episode like she thinks that. You know what I mean? She isn't recoiling from Thaisa this whole episode. She's still like bonding, like promise me you didn't kill Lottie, like like she's still like
Yeah, it feels like she is maybe questioning her conclusion or something because it seems pretty definitive in the previous episode and yet it's just it doesn't play that way in this episode until this final vision. Or not final vision, but like this vision that comes toward the end of the episode.
It's like I want a new checklist, like the ghost phone call, the sudden waking up, the crazy hospital nightmare, like it's the bad one, Van. Come on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I believe that so much more than that other bullshit. Anyway. But yeah, it's funny they played the dirt thing in the previously on just to explain why she has dirt on her mouth in this scene, which I feel like was totally
the previously on had a lot of stuff that I did not feel was necessary.
Yeah. I just that in particular struck me as like because like I feel like
honestly, whoever's watching this show does not need a previously on.
Yeah.
No one's watching this show and forgot what happened before.
Yeah.
Like the show only has hardcore fans.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. And I just feel like that's one you can leave. Like, if you're trying to bring new people in, right? So let's say someone tunes into just this episode, right? And they watch this nightmare sequence, right? Weird shit appears in nightmare sequences all the time.
Yeah.
It's totally okay to just have it like she's just got dirt on her face. And like, if you're new to the show, you don't know why. Maybe you're interested, you go back, you watch a show, and then you're like, oh, that's why.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it doesn't, I feel like you do that because it's like exposition to explain a certain plot point, but it's not that here. So it's just weird to me. I don't know.
It's
Anyway,
weird.
would it be Jacket Jockeys if I didn't complain about previously on at some point?
Indeed.
So there you go, kids. Enjoy. Okay. Yeah, I feel like the bad one might like kill this guy or kill someone or whatever.
Yeah.
But I do think if she killed Lottie, it's like, why isn't Van doing better then? Anyway.
It's a
Not
good
that I
point,
not that I
but
really
did the
believe that that is the true thing, but
yeah.
nonetheless, like, just for Thais, I guess, like, shouldn't she be more
Yeah,
concerned
I
about
think
that?
we talked about this on a previous podcast of would the wilderness love or hate for Lottie to be killed? Is she like n-
Mm-hmm.
the ultimate, or would the wilderness punish you for doing it?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Um, and also, like, Team Van here says it was an even trade, right? So like that should just mean one life for one life, right? So shouldn't they already be even? Anyway, whatever. Um,
Yeah.
I know that like it's just a dream. It doesn't have to like be real. It also felt like we were about to get a death dream, and so I
It
was like,
definitely felt like a death
I
dream.
was like ready for that because they've shown, like Natalie saw her younger self, and so it seemed like that's where they were heading with this, but it isn't. So anyway, we'll come back to that next week. Okay. So we go back to the past. Lottie is still playing around with Edwin's blood as Gen and Mari try to get the arrow out of Melissa. Gen suggests pushing it through, so she snaps the end of the arrow off, and Lottie offers to help, saying that the strangers are going to, quote, ruin everything. Oh,
Because
oh,
everything was so
oh,
cool.
Lottie. Oh, they were gonna ruin everything. Oh, okay. That's what was happening. Thank you for explaining that to me, Lottie. I get why you axed this guy in the head, because they were gonna ruin everything. Oh my goddy. All right. So Gan rebukes her and Mari says, go fuck your blood dirt. Which really made me laugh.
I love that line. I'm gonna start telling people that. Go fuck your blood.
Go fuck your blood dirt.
Go fuck your blood dirt.
Oh, it's a great line. Thank you, Mari. Gen pushes the arrow through. Mari pulls it out. Lottie turns around to see the others, but not Travis, Aquila, Cody, or Misty. Arrive back at camp. They have Hannah, and she introduces herself, and that's where we leave the past timeline this episode. Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I was thinking about this earlier. I was thinking about how season two. So at the end of season one, we have this like crazy like bank account thing and this message. Someone's following me. Who the fuck is Lottie Matthews? And then this team of like mysterious, like creepy guys like bust into Natalie's hotel room and kidnap her, and they're wearing symbol necklaces, and it's like, oh my god, like what's going on? And then Lottie does this like altar thing, and like verser le sang mes beaux amis, like, and they end on this maximal like creepy ass Lottie thing where it's like, oh my god, she's some kind of, whatever they said later, goop sorceress or whatever. Like, and you're thinking she's gonna be like a mega villain, right? And then we get into season two, and
Yeah.
like the whole thing changes. Like she's got this peaceful vibe. She's put her past behind. She's like accepted that none of it was real.
Shows are all about this, and I hate it.
And at the same time, Teen Lottie is shown being doubtful and unsure of herself and losing her connection to the wilderness, and at the end abdicating the leadership, saying like she doesn't hear it anymore. and like that was her arc, whereas the adult one sort of like slides back into the hallucinations and proposes a sacrifice and all that and is carted away at the end, like a relapse, like that's how it comes across, right? But like basically, and then she returns this season, and like again it's like kind of ambiguous the way she behaves. There's a weird thing with Callie, but at the same time, like what we actually see her doing with Callie seems innocuous,
Yeah.
so it's like I'm not sure what to think about that. At the same time, she's hiding things, pretending to have nowhere to go when she did, but at the same time she's going to Lisa and giving her $50,000 and saying I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So it's just like it's a real mixed bag
Yeah.
with adult Lottie. But like now with teen Lottie, I'm getting like what I was expecting in season 2. Like this is what I thought we were gonna get back then. It's just crazy that we
Yeah.
spent this middle period where like she seemed like more normal, you know? And like now we're getting like the weirdest Lottie's ever been. Like she spends this whole episode like after axing Edwin in the back of the head, just like playing around with his blood and saying weird shit. That is her entire story this episode.
Yeah.
And that's just wild to me. Like I don't know. And I'm glad that like Gen and Mari are just like fuck off. Like we don't need your help.
Fuck your
Like
blood dirt, goop sorcerer.
yeah, exactly. Like I don't know. It's like it was. I like that change in the dynamic was interesting to me. That like they even realize like, okay, like something's wrong with you. Like we
Yeah.
need to like not follow you so much. Like we need to not listen. I don't know. There's something there, which I really appreciated. Um, Okay. I think yeah, and then we have the reunion, and we also have those crew, the Travis and Keelan Cody crew left stranded, and we have Misty left stranded. So that's where we'll pick up next time. Um,
Yeah.
any other comments about this past storyline before we move
No.
forward? All right.
No.
So we go back to the present. Jeff looks for bed bugs, complaining about the Joels. I love that he
I
co-opted
love
the phrase
it.
the
I know.
Joels.
I love that. And I love his like shoddily furnished.
Yeah.
He's great in this scene.
It's very
And
funny.
poor Jeff
It's
needing
very
his
funny.
daughter to tell him that what he has is stress-induced hives.
Yeah. Oh, is that what she's implying? Because here's what I said.
Ah,
Callie has some sort of weird interpretation of Jeff's red spots. She says trying to fight the way things actually are. But I think the way you explained it makes more sense to me. That it's like Jeff's like stress induced, like breaking out, like kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah. It's
Um
hives. I believe that
Hives.
is
There you
what we're
go.
supposed to
Thank
think.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. AKA trying to fight the way things actually are. That's what
Yeah.
hives are. Anyway, I don't know. When Kelly said it, I'm like, that's a weird, vague way to explain this. But okay, fine. That actually makes sense when you reframe it. Okay. She says that they tell themselves that Sean is a good person, but what if she isn't? And then she asks about Shauna meeting some frog scientists, telling Jeff the known facts about the team that they went missing in the area 100 miles away from where the Yellowjackets were found. Jeff is surprised, and he doesn't think they even met the Yellowjackets. Callie thinks that the tape is part of the project. And then she mentions that Shauna, Ty, and Van knew what the tape was right away because she heard it from the phone. Right. So
Yeah.
she's putting stuff together from that recording. Like it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, there was actually something to learn there, even though she didn't hear the whole tape. She learned enough to know that it
Yeah.
must be a thing from the wilderness. Um, and Jeff wonders what Callie thinks happened, and Callie says, "Deep, we know deep down that they could have done it." I think saying killed them.
Killed them.
I
Yeah.
think that's basically what she's saying, and I think that's at least partially true. I mean, I don't know what happened to all of them, but I bet some of them are getting killed.
Yeah.
At the very least. Okay.
I mean, one of them has been killed.
So, well, okay, you're right. One of them has been killed already, right? Because she didn't hear that part.
Correct.
Yeah. But yeah, the two remaining ones, I think there's a pretty strong chance that both of them are killed, but I think there's a even stronger chance that one of them are killed. Okay. Um, Another thing that I think is worth noting here is I think this means that they're not mentioned in the journals.
Yeah.
Like Jeff specifically mentioned in last episode,
Yeah,
so it's
and I
not like they
really
forgot.
wonder at what point she stopped writing those journals. I
Yeah.
mean, did she run out of paper, or she just like she moved on, like she became consumed with other things? She felt like was it a gradual thing? Um
So I was wondering if she stopped writing in the journals or if she's continued writing the journals but became cagier, like gave a an edited version of events.
yeah, I just think uh, I don't think that she ever thought anybody was gonna find the journals, which is myopic, but I just
Well,
what?
so like the reason why I feel like that could have changed is the Rivalist team. I mean, she specifically says in this episode, if we kill them, they'll come looking for us and we could get rescued like that. So she's got this hope of rescue on the horizon at this point in the story. So I feel like
Mhm.
this could be a point where she's like, okay, if they find us, I don't want anything incriminating in the journals.
So you that's why you go and you burn them.
Well, sure.
Like that's the
But they already have the journals, so
I know, but
they
I just
can't do
think
that now.
yeah, whatever.
They're boxed
Well,
in. I'm just saying,
I
like
am
maybe.
just saying that if the show wants us to believe that she's got so much hubris about these journals that it never occurs to her that she might not be able to keep them safe from other people's eyes, which is clearly the case, that that might not be a valid reason for her to have stopped writing in them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I think she should have destroyed them absolutely.
yeah,
I mean, it's ridiculous. It's so reckless.
yeah. I mean, I agree. I agree. I'm just throwing it out as a possibility because, like,
Yeah,
it's at least like
yeah.
somewhat plausible. I agree she should have burned him. It's just we know she didn't burn him,
I know,
so
I know.
there's just no like that's just a dead end. So it's like okay, she didn't burn them, but
I
did she?
just would like the show to come up with something that is logical,
Fair enough. Fair enough. And maybe they'll try, or maybe they'll fail. We'll see.
or more likely than not, they will just never address it.
Or they'll never address it. We'll see. They did start the season with her writing in the journal,
Yeah,
so I feel like they owe us a journal follow up, and we'll see. Maybe they show she isn't writing in them anymore,
and I think
or
there's a lot of stuff that they're gonna owe us that they're not gonna deliver on.
my other possibility is yeah. I mean, maybe they just drop it. Loose ends have happened before, but anyway, I think it's possible that they follow up. And it really should be one of the two. Either she just quits writing them altogether, or she writes in them in a way where she hides certain things that happen. And what I feel like it helps actually if that's true in terms of Jeff, because it means that Jeff doesn't know, what is probably the worst of the worst. Like what has happened so far is bad, but like
Yeah,
what will happen is probably worse.
yeah.
And
But
so
I mean, how many empty books did she bring with her for what was supposed to be like a 4-day
I
trip?
think she showed about like 3 or 4 in the safe, something like that, for what
That's,
it's worth.
I mean, I hope she found those in the cabin because there is no reason why you would pack that much for her.
Eh, yeah, I mean, thank God for journal smugglers. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, I'm not sure that they have a good answer for all that
Yeah,
stuff.
whatever. It's a contrivance. I understand
Pretty
that.
much. But I do think this turn is kind of interesting. Like we haven't really had Callie turning on Shauna in this kind of way before, and like bringing Jeff in.
Yeah.
I think it kind of changes the dynamic that they've had. So
Definitely. I mean, there was that moment in last season when they like lean against the car and Shauna starts to share a bit
yeah,
with Callie but and there's this moment of bonding and she says earlier in this episode, although it was insincere, but I think there was some truth to it that like I just wanted to get closer to you and I thought you wanted that too.
yeah.
Um
Yeah.
but this is yeah, there's probably no going back in their relationship.
Yeah. It's I
And this is
mean,
where like shows have to decide in uh I was going to say in dialogue, but it's not dialogue. Sort of, there's like a rubber band that happens between writers and audience around what characters have to be punished for and how severely. And so, you see this with shows that have anti-heroes.
Hmm.
Like, what's the appropriate amount of punishment? And then so if somebody has done something really egregious, but it's written so that you identify with them or sympathize with them, but ultimately the writers think they still need to be punished for what they did, then you need to show that what they did was worse than what the audience was prepared to forgive.
Yeah, yeah,
So I just think that's one of the things that we're watching shift this season.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, there's various ways you can go with that. Like in the case of Natalie, they did like what a classic move is, which is the redemptive death.
Yeah.
Like that's one way, and like Breaking Bad sort of did that. Like that's a possible path, but it's definitely an anti-hero show. Like I felt that since a while ago, and it's like it's getting worse as time goes on.
Yeah.
Like I liked them more in season one than I do now.
Yeah.
So, the adult versions especially. But teen versions to a degree
Certainly
as well.
certainly adult Shauna.
Yeah, adult Shauna has definitely gotten a lot worse.
Misty's been on a roller coaster for me.
Misty is all over the
And
place.
Ty also sort of a roller coaster.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Her situation's different because of the bad one, but
Yeah, it is. It is. Van too, actually. Van's like gone through a few
yeah.
turns. Like now she's in a sympathetic mode.
We've had less Van.
It's true. Yeah, she just came in season two. And I guess Lottie too, like had a bit of a shift.
Well, Lottie already had her death, and
True.
we just don't know yet how redemptive it was.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly the tip to Lisa, that's a thing.
Yeah.
But
Suggest something. And yeah, I still think there's a possibility that it was a suicide. And it's possible that Thaisa and or Shauna like were willing to help with that or something and they're covering it up. I don't know. I think that's still like
how many
on the
people
table.
does it take to push a Yellowjacket down the stairs?
It doesn't, but maybe she was like, I want you here for this. I don't know, something like that, just to witness. Not
Yeah.
that they really needed to help, but yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see where this is going. Ready for the final scene?
Yep.
All right, it's a short one. Shauna arrives in Virginia, and we see someone close the blinds of a house as Shauna sits outside at night. Who's the stalker now? Shauna, she didn't say that. That was me.
Yeah, no, I could tell.
But maybe she thought it. I hope she thought it.
I hope she thought it.
All right. Anyway, Shauna gets out a knife in a sheath or scabbard, and music plays as we go to the end credits.
With a little orange
Price tag,
indicating
that she bought at the gas station, and like secretly admitted to having it in the I Spy game, which is an interesting reveal. So that confrontation.
What's great about that is like now we have a witness and probably CCTV of her buying that knife.
Oh, that's true.
If that becomes relevant.
A thing later. Yeah. So the big confrontation is probably coming next week. So we'll have to wait to see like who's in the house, like besides Alex.
Presumably Alex.
Because Alex should be there, but is there someone else there? And if so, is it this other Yellowjacket collaborator character?
Yeah.
Or Cody, I guess is possible.
Let's hope not.
Like I feel like Cody is the only other explanation that makes any sense to me at this point.
Yeah, I just would find that so weird. But maybe.
Me too.
Maybe she hired Alex hires Cody to help her get revenge.
Yeah. I mean,
I think also live with her.
I don't think he would need like a ton of convincing to want to get revenge.
No.
Because like he's got his own justification. Yeah, I don't know if he's living there. I just would think like they're in the middle of this mission, so maybe he's just temporarily. That would be my guess if he's actually there, or maybe he's not there at all. It's just Alex.
The motel in town is furnished with absolutely subpar furnishings.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. Well,
Yeah.
that brings us to the end. So we'll be back next week with whatever fucking trolly jokey ass title they come up with next.
Can't wait.
But until then,
Ribbit, ribbit, ribbit.
buzz ribbit.